Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm excited to share with you guys the Swashbuckler fighter build. This thing does not mess around, and I'm going to teach you guys kind of my setup, how I make it work, and what makes it just overall a lot of fun. So, getting this one rolling really quickly, this is what I use. This is all about the hand crossbow. It's pretty much driven by that hand crossbow. I also take a windlass, but that's kind of optional. You can run a normal crossbow if you want. I just love having that pocket damage. So arming sword, reason for the arming sword is the fact that the movement speed penalty on the arming sword is a little bit lower than the falchion. Falchion's also a decent shout right now because it's super strong. I did try the horseman's axe, however the horseman's axe is just a little too slow. So arming sword, hand crossbow, windlass. That's what I'm using. And then, of course, the dual wield setup. You can pump out some crazy damage, some really good poke, and then follow it up with some insane burst damage from your arming sword with Adrenaline Rush. I will show you guys some examples of how I kind of made it successful, but first, I want to talk about the perks and skills. The one perk that kind of has me second guessing is not taking projectile resistance and taking combo attack. Combo attack is just so huge once you pop Adrenaline Rush, and you need weapon mastery for your hand crossbow. And the windlass as well. If you're taking bolts, you might as well throw the windlass in there, which is why I decided to take it. And then Slayer, of course, also adds the 5 weapon damage to your crossbow, which can basically jump a green crossbow into the ranges of like a purple crossbow. Pretty wild. Combo attack, like I said, really influential, but not so much in the crossbow, more for when you're in close with that arming sword or falchion. Dual wield, obviously, 15% attack speed, pretty huge. The one thing I will say about this build, and it probably could be better if you had, some stronger gear. This is pretty much base setup, as cheap as you can get. And obviously I'm trying to catch people, so I'm using sprint, burst, get in there, and fight them as fast as possible. You don't really want to be getting into like long distance range poke, because you will lose the rangers. You have absolutely no projectile resistance, which is probably the most dangerous part about this class. It's that rangers and any projectile will really hurt and slow you down. So you gotta do your best to kind of close that gap and deal your damage as fast as possible. You can, against certain classes, kind of stand at range and really make use of that hand crossbow and its ability to poke. I'm gonna show you guys some damage numbers here right after I'm done. I just wanted to show you Horseman's Axe compared to Arming Sword. It may not seem like a huge margin, minus 10 more movement speed, but when you have both those weapons equipped, it feels slow. I tried it. Closing the gap was incredibly difficult. Getting in, someone's face was not quite as easy. So I stuck with Arming Sword. Not a bad option if you're running Adrenaline Rush. But, like I said, Falchion is definitely a serious option if you just want to deal some crazy damage with that heavy cleaving swing. So speaking of damage, let's get into what this windlass will do. This is like I think it's a gray or white windlass. And this bad boy hits for like 77. That's with the 10% reduction. I mean, I have a bit of strength on here on a few different items, and I think a ring that's giving me like a 1 or 2 additional damage on that crossbow, and the hand crossbow hits for like 41. And that's, I think it's a green, I'm pretty sure, 23, 24 damage. So you're getting that Slayer plus 5 weapon damage on your crossbow, which is a lot more impactful, I think, than it being on a primary like your sword. So you get it on both, which is quite nice. Like, very nice. And this is me trying to make the most of the windlass, and I think I'm just leading my shots too much, as the projectile speed's a little bit better on the windlass. Use the bow, slow them down, and then finish off your target. Now, there is one other thing I do need to address after showing you guys that kill. A lot of people, I mean, a lot, think dual wield is a noob stomper only, and yes, I understand the jury's still out on just how good it is. But to say that it's just not worth your time after like 20 or 50 gold seems pretty wild to me when it competes with people in plate, like I'm about to show you here. Hitting them with the arrow. Unfortunately, we try to shut the door, which wastes a little bit too much time. But our sprint and the movement speed gets us enough clearance to turn on them with Adrenaline Rush. And I don't know. Let's just see if this guy was a noob or not. To me, this is pretty evenly matched. Green Arming Sword versus Green Arming Sword. Some pretty okay armor, a pendant that I wasn't even wearing at the time. So look, Maybe even to make this argument a little stronger, I took it into Howling Crypts and tried it 1v2 or 1v3. And we'll just kind of, let's just take a look to see how this works out. And this is probably the best way to play this. Backing yourself up, you know, applying some poke damage, chipping away at people before you really throw that burst damage on them with Adrenaline Rush. It's a different way to play entirely from a lot of the other things I see people playing on Fighter. And I understand it has its weaknesses, but I don't think you can actually say that any class is solo v squads is a good idea. Every class is going to struggle. So I just prefer struggling with dual wield. So be it. So right here we get a Barbarian. We're trying to poke him with this crossbow bolt, and once again, still getting familiar with it. And we kind of split the difference between the two here as they're dodging my ability, but luckily we followed up with a headshot with the windlass, and then turn on him with our Adrenaline Rush. And that right there is a buffed up Bard and a buffed Barb or Bard. Can't remember what I just said. Regardless, I don't think I would have been able to get the distance and the damage off if I was going full plate or sword and shield. I just wouldn't have been able to do enough, and I would have been rushed down from multiple angles trying to block or whatever. I was able to poke. Unfortunately, a couple of my shots missed, but the windlass came through huge with probably a 60-70 damage headshot, and then up close, Adrenaline Rush with the Arming Sword kept that Bardiche from hitting to its full potential. It's all about timing, spacing, and movement, and I'm using some incredibly light stuff. And you can probably go a little heavier on some of the gear I'm using and still find a lot of success. This guy was full rings, full pendants, using some okay gear. I'm not going to say it's amazing, but I'd say we're evenly matched in the gear department. The Barbarian as well had a blue Bardiche and likely some damage modifying perks going without any chest armor. And he's rocking some okay stuff as well. It's not entirely just a noob stomper. But where it does struggle, like I said earlier, is against rangers. You are going to take damage quite quickly. But you can make it work. You figure out that Windlass has way better projectile speed than the little hand crossbow. You can kind of trade, deal some damage, and then pick the right moment to press in. Once I realized I was taking so much damage, I decided it's just not worth. We need to go for the kill. Even not using Adrenaline Rush, we just out-trade a ranger and make quick work of that. Point is, don't sit there and try to trade with rangers with your hand crossbow. It's more of a tool to get close to them and make the damage happen with Adrenaline Rush, Arming Sword, Falchion. There may be other swords you like. I just like having movement speed, and Arming Sword's the best one for that, without taking the damage reduction penalty you would on a rapier. So look, I'm going to keep this one sweet and short for you guys. I appreciate you all. Please like, please subscribe. I will see you guys all next time, and let me know what your thought is on this new kind of interesting build setup with the hand crossbow. Personally, I love it. I'll probably be using a lot more of it after seeing how much you can do with that crossbow.